Okay. All right. We got Instagram and we got Facebook engaged, and they get real funny about other people's music, V. They are really on that royalty free thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I really want to take a quick moment to kind of thank you on behalf of me and my wife for agreeing to jump on our platform called Level Up, where we're are focused on empowering the Black and Brown community, either through information that can actually be a resource and a source of power and strength like yours, or for
Mm-hmm.
anyone who is, a business. And, unfortunately, we as people of colors, we don't have all of the advantages in terms of dollars and networking and marketing to kind of get our brand out to folks. So
Mm-hmm.
so that kind of being our platform, we are really kind of excited to be kind of taking this journey. Because anytime you can do something with your boo, your wife, it's always 10 times better. So
Right.
my wife told me to kind of get it kicking, because we got folks on a schedule, and I appreciate your time so much. So our very first question for you, Vialma, is to tell our right now we have about 5 people on Instagram. We got 3 people on YouTube. Tell people a little bit about you and your story.
Okay, so my name is Vialma. I am single mom of 4 children. Um, I am currently, I work for Willow Domestic Violence Center. I am a domestic violence advocate and counselor. I just celebrated my 14 years yesterday, being employed there. But
That's a
I
blessed thing.
also, yes, absolutely, it's definitely a blessing. Um, it's more rewarding to me than just the money that I earn. I get a lot of personal gratification from being there, so I'm definitely grateful for that opportunity. Um, and I'm also a second generation survivor of domestic violence. So I feel that opportunities like this are extremely important because I want to be able to get out there and speak about my experiences, because my story could be your story, but you're just not in a position or not ready to share it yet. And so I have no problem being the voice for those who have no voice. Um, so that's a little bit about myself.
No, that's that's excellent. So that dovetail right into the very first question. I always try to kind of set the stage by asking everyone, when you start doing your work, um, what's your intention? What was your outcome? What was your end goal? And how has that outcome or those intentions kind of evolved over the course of you doing what you're doing?
So when I started working at Willow, it was Alternatives for Battered Women at the time, formerly known as. Um, when I started working there, I was in the midst of a domestic violence situation. And I kind of started there as as a means of escape to get away from my situation, but also to kind of use it as a double benefit. So where I was going to be getting, financial, advantages from it, I also was getting personal, um, personal things deposited into me. So my intention at that time was, I can help myself while in turn helping others.
Right.
Now I've grown in my position. I've gained a whole lot more knowledge, professionally and personally, because throughout the majority of my employment at Willow, I have been involved in abusive situations. So, I just feel like I was able to successfully make it out.
Mhm.
And I want to be able to help other individuals do the same.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
So right now, we are kicking it with a survivor, Miss Vialma Ramos, and she's basically, in our journey today, we're going to be talking about how to take back your power when you leave a domestic abuse situation. So we appreciate and value any questions that you guys might have. This is a live conversation. So, there may be a bit of a lag time, but if you have a question that you want to pose to Ms. Ramos, I'm sure she'll do her best to try to answer you in the most, truthful and helpful way possible. So let me ask you this. I can like only kind of imagine, being a male that is you got to kind of feel trapped a little bit when you're in situations like that. When you were in that place that where you didn't feel like there was a ton of hope, who gave you hope? What was your light that kind of kept you moving?
Um, at that specific time, it was my son.
Mhm.
And all my children, basically. I have 3 older ones. They're 33, 25, but then I had my little one, who is now 12. But at that time, he was, so let me back up. So I was in an abusive situation, and I was able to get out of that situation. And then I blindly stepped into another situation that was 10 times worse.
Mm.
So the first situation was with my son's father. And that was, because I don't know who's watching, so I have to mince my words.
For sure, for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
so that was, my son was what made me leave that situation or made me terminate that situation because both my kids, because I had my daughter that I didn't want to grow up. My daughter was a teenager at that time. I didn't want her growing up thinking that this was the norm, that this is how men treat, women. Um, I didn't want my son to grow up and watch how his father was treating me and to think that that was okay to do. So basically, my children were my inspiration to be able to leave that situation.
Mhm.
Moving forward, after that relationship ended, I was single for about 3 years, and I blindly, walked into another situation. And that situation was extremely volatile. And at that time, my son was 7, and it was he that was my motivation because for the most part, we kept everything hidden from him. Like he never saw anything go down. But one particular situation, he was that angry where he didn't care that mine and other children were there present, watching, witnessing the whole situation. And then my son ended up jumping in. And
That's what
then,
sons do, right? Sons are going to
absolutely,
protect their moms.
absolutely, he
Right.
jumped in to try to help me, and then he became a victim as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so at that point, it was like, it's one thing that you do what you do to me, but when you include my child, it's like all gloves are off. Now I have to fight dirty and do whatever I have to do, but I needed to terminate that situation because there was no way that I was going to allow that to happen too.
Right.
So,
That
mhm,
makes that makes a ton of sense. So often, when I'm talking to people who are, really operating in a period of faith, whether it's around their personal stuff or their financial stuff, I always, ask, are you doing this for your first name or for your last name? And what I mean is, are you doing this for yourself? Because a lot of times when you in that self space, there's a lot of ego associated with. But when you're
mhm,
doing it for your last name, you're really doing it for individuals. It's bigger than you, and it's more important than you. And it really kind of sounded like that's what allowed you to draw strength to move in that really, really volatile situation, because you really weren't thinking about yourself. You were looking at your little ones.
Right.
So I would definitely say, I commend you and take my hat off to you on that.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about, as you started working at your current place, what were some of the skills and what were some of the strategies that you started to learn about and then be able to impart to others?
It's funny because I just did a presentation yesterday in a support group that I'm a part of on safety planning. And that became like my focus for daily living. I had to make myself and my home as safe as possible. And I encourage others that are in that type of situation to do the same as well. So just as like if you're setting up booby traps, hey, Vaughn.
Hi, where are you?
How are you?
Hi.
So just as I encourage people, if you're about to set a trap for somebody, you want to be booby trapping and everything, but this is more like making it safer for yourself. So things like where to argue in the house, what position to be standing in, if you're in an argument, how to prepare in advance, to like remove all sharp objects, remove anything that could be used as a weapon, park, because I got caught out there trying to back out of my driveway. I successfully made it out of the house, and I jumped in my car, but I didn't get a chance to lock my door because he was on me. And he opened the door and he's trying to snatch me out, and I'm trying to keep the car from rolling down the driveway and all of that. So I ended up with
Vialma, you muted yourself by mistake.
I won't pull into my driving spot. I will back into it.
Hey V, could you go back a couple seconds? You muted yourself by mistake, so we lost some of what you were saying.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I actually had a call and I had to decline it. That's why. So what I was saying was that, I encourage people to kind of safe proof, just like how you do with a baby, how you go around and you're making sure that things are safe for your baby. You have to do the same for yourself. And so you go around your house and I had to survey the scene in every room, make sure that there weren't things that could be used as weapons. And you'll be surprised at what is used as weapons, you know what I'm saying? Because things that you wouldn't, like candle holders, things like that. So make sure that there wasn't anything that was around that could be used against you. I spoke of an experience in where I was able to make it out of the house. I made it into my car and I got the car started and was about to back out of the driveway, but he caught up with me and snatched the door open and was trying to snatch me out of the car again. And I was fighting to get back in the car and to keep the car from rolling down the driveway. And so in the process, I ended up with torn ligaments in my knee and had to wear a brace, and I had a limp for many years as a result, and so on and so forth. So from that experience, I said, never again. I won't pull into my driveway again. So now, in everywhere that I go, I always back into a spot, because if I can make it in the car, I'm out. I don't have to look, to try to back out. I don't have to waste that time. So there were things that you learn along the way, from trial and error. I always encourage people to have a burner. I always kept the phone in my car. I got one of those, what do you call those, Obama phones, that I kept in my car, that was always charged. And it had like the important numbers in my phone that was stored in there. So in case I needed to leave and didn't have a chance to grab my phone, I had a phone in the car. I also had a couple dollars stashed in my glove compartment, and I also had like clothing, like at least a change of clothing, you know, at my mom's house, at my best friend's house, in case I ever needed to stay out. So,
Wow.
like, you ever watch the movie Enough
Remember that movie?
with Jennifer Lopez?
Okay. I haven't
No.
gotten a chance. Yeah.
That is an excellent movie. It's about Jennifer Lopez plays the role of a survivor, and it just showed how she prepared herself for, you know, she ended up killing the guy, but she prepared herself like it was it's a really good movie. She took a lot of steps. You know, like she had a car parked somewhere else. She had a bag of clothes in there, you know, things like that. So I got some of those ideas from there because I'm like, oh, okay, I should be doing that too.
That's great knowledge. You are really dropping a lot of valuable insights. And and we don't know, who's gonna see this recording, whether it's now or in a week or in a month. But I believe that you're blessing somebody who may be in a situation right now. And when you're in the situation, getting out of it doesn't seem, so super obvious. But just based on what you're saying and some of the skills that they can do, can kind of minimize and try to give themselves as many opportunities to be
I'm
out.
sorry, give me 1 second,
Yeah.
Whitney.
Yep.
I have to pick up Jamir at 9 o'clock.
So for my
Okay, I'm
friends
sorry.
on Facebook, we are with Miss Ramos. We are kicking it with her. She is basically sharing some insightful knowledge on what one can do to overcome domestic abuse, and more importantly, to take back your power, because that's the key. Getting your power back is the biggest aspect of it. So I'm gonna kick it over to my wife, Miss Yvonne the Great.
So I'm not sure what questions you guys have already asked, but one question I think that many women deal with is how do they support their mental health in order to stay in a healthy relationship when they've been in an unhealthy relationship previously?
That's a good question, and I think I need the answer for that myself. Because I've been single since my last relationship. I've been single for 4 years, and I don't think I'm ready. I'm not mentally ready because I'm very leery of anyone because they paint such a pretty picture. They always send their best representative, so you don't see, as skilled as you may be. I mean, here I am. I consider myself an educated woman. I'm working as a domestic violence counselor, and yet I had the wool pulled over my eyes, a few times. So obviously I'm not the best judge of character when it comes to that. So I don't know. That's a good question that when you find the answer, send it this way.
Understood. What's your
But I
next
definitely
question,
think
Yvonne?
that, it's never, even though I've been out of the situation now for 4 years, there's days that they hit me like a ton of bricks because, you're in that fight or flight mode the whole time that you're in that situation. So you don't really have time to process your thoughts, your emotions, or anything. And it isn't until later, how you ever been through something and then you just kind of let out that sigh of relief. It isn't until much later that you're able to reflect on your experiences and you're able to go back and be like, oh, okay, so maybe next time I'll do this. Or, I don't think, that there is a specific time frame in which you do that.
Right.
Just like the stages of grief, you vacillate between, emotions. And I was just talking to my daughter earlier, like I'm still stuck in anger. I'm really angry. I'm extremely angry at all of the people that I've been in 3 abusive relationships from one extreme to the other. And Yvonne, you remember, because I used to sit, you were a mental health provider and I used to sit in your office and talk. So, it's not, I don't think that you'll ever fully get over it. I don't know. So that's what, when they say you have baggage that you're carrying from one relationship to the next, and it's best for you to process that. Yeah, I'm not there yet, because I still envision, some bodily damage to people. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not there yet, because I don't want to take it out on the next person, So.
Right. Oh, boy. This thing.
Can I ask the next question?
Absolutely.
All right, but
Absolutely.
because we're in a real serious spot, but I want to lighten it up though, just a little bit. For you, are you a cat or a dog person?
Neither, but I have a dog currently. I had to get a dog for my son. It's his emotional support dog, but my son only uses it when he's upset or whatever, because I'm the one that takes care of him and everything. So no, I don't like either or.
Okay.
Because they're like another child, another responsibility. But I do love my little dog. He's a sweetheart.
Yeah. I'm a
Mhm.
dog person. Yvonne loves our dog, but she really at the heart of
Loves
it,
cats.
she's a cat person.
I remember.
Yeah. Well, why are you a cat person, babe?
They're just so independent and strong and able to take care of themselves. They just come to you for a little bit of love, and then they just go on about their way.
Yeah.
And if you feel down and out, they know it. They'll come right over and take care of you.
Yeah. And dogs do too, but they are very dependent. They, you need to do everything for them.
Very needy.
Very needy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You got one for me, or can I ask another one?
You can ask another
Because
one.
I'm greedy with questions, right? You've always known I've always had to.
Hey.
Yes, she does.
So for you, tell me what your biggest pet peeve is.
I hate liars and I hate thieves.
Say more.
I feel like your word is your bond. So if you lie on something so simple, like I can't trust you for anything. If I can't trust you with something small, how can I trust you with something big?
Mhm.
And a thief, when you take something that's a violation of someone's, personal space. So I just feel like if you violate me with something minor, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know that you're capable of doing worse. So I detest both of them.
Yeah. My dad used to say something. He used to pull them all together. He said, son, if you lie, you'll cheat. If you cheat, you'll steal. If you steal, you will do something that might lead to someone dying. And I don't need anybody in my life that does that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my old man was very, very old school, very he kept a very small number of people in his circle. And he didn't trust a lot of folks, Now my mom was just the opposite. She's a social butterfly, and luckily he was able to say, Priscilla, yeah, that's not a good person for you. But my mom was a little bit of a, my mom back in the day would race. You remember when people would race their cars, and the collateral would be the pink, the ownership of the car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my mom.
She would do that.
What?
Oh, my mom was a rebel. Yeah, my mom.
Okay.
My dad settled mommy out so big.
Wow.
So they worked out. I miss them dearly. But when mom passed, I knew dad wasn't gonna go. But I was surprised he stayed that long. He got, what was it, year and a half? What, even 2 years? That's what that's what you want, and so and unfortunately not many of us had that opportunity. I don't know why she's putting up with me right now. Every day she
You guys have been together for a long time.
Yeah, man.
Just used to him now.
I bet you got the next one.
So I guess I'm gonna just kind of go back and revisit some of this again and look at you, Vialma, because you think that you haven't worked through some of this stuff, some of it, but you really have. and I know you have. It says, what do you, I said, I guess I want to know what reading do you think every woman should read in order to just help them develop as a woman? I mean, you have a daughter.
I
So
do.
think about, yeah.
So, oh God. I think it's called The Princess Within by T.D. Jake's wife. Name. She wrote a book, and it just really talks about how to, basically self-love and how to bring forth, that inner beauty. I read it years ago, and I think I might have it somewhere. I think I need to pull it out and reread it. It was a good read. Definitely, if you're feeling down and out, this is something that can help restore your belief in self.
Ask that question that one of our Facebook viewers are asking about the confrontation.
It says, Vialma, have you confronted your abuser nowadays and show him how strong you are? How do you feel about confronting?
One, we kind of call it a truce. We're just like, hey, he said, he apologized and, just said basically that he was, young and dumb. And so was I. We were very young when we got together. So, I don't really, I'm still sort of angry with him, but I don't really hold that much of a grudge against him. Like, we've moved past it and we've learned to co-parent and, be okay. We can be in the same space, and I'm not ready to kill him. My second one, that isn't going to work. Because he has a warped sense of perception. He only remembers what I did to him, or he chooses to remember what I did to him. And so he's presenting himself as the victim, and me being the aggressor. And because what everybody else has seen is my reaction to his actions, that's what everybody else believes. And it's not really worth. I really don't have, I do. I have a son. I really wish that we could come to some type of truce, like how I did with my daughter's father, you know what I'm saying? So that we can, effectively co-parent and be there for for our son, but it's not possible. And the third one, I have no ties with. I don't have any children. He looks better gone. It's okay. You got that one. I took that one for the team. I'm okay.
That's how it has to be sometimes.
Yeah.
So we have another, it's more of a comment, is, stay positive and strong. God will see you through it all. And that's so true.
Absolutely. Let me tell you, there were days when I didn't know if I was going to be alive the next morning. There were days that I was held at gunpoint or by knife, through the night, just harassing me and things like that. And it was like I had to put on a front. Like, I gave him the tears and the fear and the begging, because I think that's what, begging for my life, I think that's what he was feeding off of. But inside, it was like I had an out-of-body experience, in those times. It would be like I was giving him what he needed to feed his ego, and then eventually he'll get tired and he'll leave me alone. But I would have this tough experience interior where I was like praying the whole time. I would pray. I would sing songs to myself. I would I don't know. It was definitely my faith that held me through. I can't read it right now. It was definitely my faith that brought me out of it. I remember taking long showers. Like I would take 2-3 showers a day, and he would be like, why are you always taking a shower? And I'm like, oh, I just, I'm hot or whatever. I make excuses. But that was where I can go and I can, just cry as long as I wanted to. He would never see, because I didn't want to give him that satisfaction, of seeing how broken he had me and how he, I had become the mere shell of the woman that I used to be, but I didn't want to give him that satisfaction. And it would be, Tamala Mann.
Yeah.
Tamala Mann had a CD at that time. I want to say it's One Way. I think, but I would play it from beginning to end. And before the end of the CD, he was gone. It was like, how how you spread water on, and they kind of disperse. That's how me playing any kind of spiritual or praying or anything like that, he would leave. So I would purposely,
that's powerful.
Yep, I will purposely play it, and he'll be like, "Oh, you listening to that Christian, da 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 da," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I want to listen to," and I'm out.
So wait a minute, hold on. I'm not gonna let that slide. So you're saying to our audience, by you bringing God into the situation, and in this case, it was your gospel music, the darkness didn't want to be in the same space.
Nope.
Ooh.
That it would affect his spirit, something fierce, and he would leave. And so once I saw that it happened once, and then I was like, oh, maybe it was a coincidence. Let me try it again, and it happened again. Oh, every time after that, every time that he was like, I really did not want to be around him because he isolated me from everyone. He made it so that I was alone in my house, where no one was interested in visiting me because he was so nasty and starting fights with everyone. So everybody was like, oh, you want to be there with him, so I'm gonna leave you there with him. And it wasn't that, it was just that, he would threaten my livelihood. He would threaten my mom's, my kids, so I had to put on a front like I was defending him, but I was really protecting my family, because he would tell me, like, I know exactly where your mother sits at. She would be the easiest person to get to.
Wow.
So whatever he would tell me that he wanted me to do, I would do it because I didn't want him to hurt my mom. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, yeah.
That's a lot.
Crazy. It was deep. It was deep. It was an experience that I don't wish on even my worst enemy. I wouldn't wish it upon, because it was horrific, and it lasted way too long. And I even, I ended up losing custody of my son behind it. You know what I'm saying? It was like, once my son was hit, and CPS became involved, I ended up, having to give up custody of my son to my daughter for his safety, which I was happy to do so because I didn't want my son in that environment. But I would be like, listen, my son cannot come back while you're here. And he'll say, well, your mother will take good care of him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you, I need you to leave so that my son can come back.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. It was tough.
Say more about this, Vialma, because me and Yvonne, we've been pretty, I don't want to use the word devout, but we've been pretty busy and pretty involved in our place of worship. And it's allowed us to kind of get, minimize a lot of the stuff that we felt that were out of our control, but then really it was just really allowing God to take charge of the ship. For you, I know you spoke about faith before, but was there, how has your involvement in your faith community, how has that evolved over time?
Oh, I was actively involved when I started both relationships, because I had a young pastor, or a handsome pastor. They would swear that I was trying to get with the pastor. That's why I was trying to go to church. And so they kept me from going to church in both times. So it has evolved, and where, as soon I was free of that situation, I was head first back in the church, because I know that's where my strength comes from. I know that without God, I am nothing. So, and I needed to be in, in his presence in order for me to be able to restore my sense of being, because I had lost who I was. I had lost my way. I had lost myself. And I needed to get back on track. And, I went right back to church after that situation ended. I went right back, and then now I've gone, I'm still within the same family, but now I'm in the sons. Like, I was with the parents first, and now I've moved on to the sons church. And, God is the head of my life and the head of my household. And I just, I seek him first for everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because one of the things that obviously jumped out at me is it sounded like he, in essence, alienated you and really kept you from being around those pillars of support that were in the faith community.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly, anybody who, is connected in their faith community, when your brother or sister is hurting, you're hurting. So there's probably a lot of people that did not really know the depths or the extent of your despair. What are some other signs that you share with people that a person who is of this nature will do to try to manipulate and control you? Because I'm sure separating you from a support system is probably one of many.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They can also try to control your money.
Mm.
I had to give account of what I made and where my money was going. And do you really have to pay this bill? And no, we're not going to pay. Like, first of all, you're not contributing anything. You're not working. This is my money. I'm the one that's bringing, I'm bringing it in, and I'm going to do what I need to do. But yeah, trying to control my money. When they did start working, because I say they because both of them were pretty much doing the same thing, just at different levels. But when they did start working, they wouldn't give me, any money, but they would still want to sleep in my house and still sleep in my bed. And my thing is, if you don't bring bread to my table, you cannot break bread at my table. Mm-hmm. And I would tell them this all the time, and they would have a hard time receiving that, because they would always say that I was too strong for my own good. I do have a wicked tongue. Mm-hmm. I have no problem telling you exactly how I feel. And so they would try to shut me up so that I wouldn't have anything to say, or I wouldn't want to speak. You know how when you, as a little kid, you go and you touch the stove and your mom pops you in your hand so that you don't do it again, so you think twice about it. And that's pretty much the experience that I was going through. Like, if I would speak up against something that was being done and I'm getting popped in my face or, knocked upside my head or something like that because of something that I said, I'm not going to want to speak on it the next time.
Right. That's right.
It's these individuals, they exercise their power over you, their strength over you, so that, they can intimidate you to the point where you kind of relinquish your own strength to them. And my first relationship, my daughter's father would tell you, like, I was a firecracker. I would fight tooth and nail. Like, you swing on me, I'm swinging back. And if you fall asleep, don't fall asleep, because if you hit me too hard the first time, I'm coming back.
Oh man.
But that was kind of like an even situation. Like, we both beat each other up. I'm not going to say, like, we both had some battle wounds out of that relationship. But the second and the third one, no, they were a lot bigger, a lot stronger. And they got in my mind, you know what I mean? Like, the last one really got in my mind and had me thinking, that he was like this real big menace to society. And now when I look back, I'm like, I bet you he didn't even do any of that. I bet you that was all just him trying to get a rise out of me, just to see if, I do exhibit fear, in which I did. He would tell me how he would, murder people and take them in the basement and nobody would find them and stuff like that. I'd be like, oh my God, he's going to do the same to me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Wow. It's kind of like that dog that barks, barks, barks. And when he gets to the end of his chain, he's like, okay, I'm done.
Done. He's done. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we have someone who really can relate to what you're saying. They said, this is really true. I had no friends. My family turned their back on me because I was so scared to leave. Someone gave me a church CD and I played it every day until I found the courage to go.
Amen. Yes. They alienate you to the point where you have no one. He started off, he knew how much my mother meant to me. And he pretty much kicked her out of my house, and my mom, left. She didn't tell me what had actually happened, how the whole conversation transpired. All she was saying was, I'm leaving. And I'm like, why? Why are you leaving? Like, this is a cookout. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm leaving. I found out later, but he started off there. He knew that was the beginning.
Your anchor.
Right.
Oh yeah. So he got rid of her. Then he knows my kids.
Yes.
He knows how I felt about my kids. So then he started arguments with them, creating situations with them so that they would get pissed off and, not want to be around. And because I already knew what he told me that he would be doing to my son or my daughter or something like that, then I would not go against what he said, because I needed to make sure that he didn't, he wasn't going to make good of his word,
Right.
And so my kids never understood that. Like, I had to, rebuild those relationships, because they always thought that I was taking his side, that I chose this man over him. No, the whole time I was choosing them and their safety, so that he wouldn't, try to harm them, just to get back at me.
Right. And I can see how a son, because of how we're hardwired, would wonder, like, well, why you? And not really get the fact that you're doing it to really try to protect them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was tough. You know how hard it was. Like, my sons were always like, they stay on go. All it takes is for me to say, get them, and they were, but it was hard, because I had to keep saying, like, stay out of it. I got myself in a situation. Let me do it. They listened, but they eventually got tired, and they didn't go too far, but they really didn't meddle in it. And, as much as I try to tell my little one, don't ever get involved. If you ever see anything happen, we had a safety plan. We had I would always tell him, if you ever see mommy in trouble, jump out of your window and run down the street, because my mom lived at the end of the street. Jump out of the window, run down the street, and go get mommy help. And it didn't happen, because the day that he saw me in trouble, he would not leave my side.
Right.
And he jumped in, so regardless of how many times we rehearsed that plan, it didn't pan out that way.
Right. That makes sense.
I mean, and I don't blame him, No. I wasn't upset with him. I really felt like he was what really put the ball in motion at that point, because at that specific time, I was clueless as to how I was going to get out of that situation. I didn't know what to do. I had tried everything, and he just wasn't moving.
So I have to wonder, so how has that impacted your son, kind of seeing that? And, has it kind of created any distrust of other people outside of the circle of trust?
It does. My son, he's very, very, very protective and very, very attached to me. And I was recently talking to somebody, and it was just a conversation over the phone, but he needed to speak to him. And the first thing he said was, are you going to hit my mother? Are you going to cheat on my mother, or will you ever hit on me?
Wow.
And those are some important questions.
Yeah, like he would not, he wouldn't hand me the phone back until he got a response from this person. And he always tells me, and this is what it's really disheartening for me, because he always used to say, I'm ready for you to date, even though he really isn't. Because as soon as he hears me talking to somebody, he's like, who is that? And why do you have to speak to them? And no, I don't want to talk to them. But he would always say, I want you to start dating, but I want you to date a white man. I'm like, why a white man? He's like, because all Black men do is cheat and beat on you. So, it's better for you to get a white man, just so they will do that. I'm like, first of all, white men do it too. It's not, there isn't a specific race, or anything. There's some men, that's just their MO. But it just really made me sad, because I have not provided him a positive male Black figure for him to look up to, so that he can be proud of, himself. Because I'm like, do you recognize that you're Black as well? He was like, but I don't look Black. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. You're still Black. That is still your race. And yeah, like you can't speak so negatively about the Black man, because you are a Black man. And are you going to cheat? And are you going to beat on women? No. Okay, then that doesn't mean that everybody's going to do it.
That's right.
So,
But you know what, Vialma, what it does speak to is as Black men, we really have to go do a better job of changing the narrative.
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's not going to be an overnight thing, but we really have gotten to a place where, me and Vaughn, we were just having a conversation, out on our porch. We have, a neighbor who will remain nameless, but bunch of children, ain't no male figures there.
Mm.
And I said, man, that's like a blind spot for me, based on the fact that, number one, almost all of my cousins are male. So we're all boys. But more than that, we had a very strong patriarch. My grandfather was one of those no nonsense, old school, you got to do for yourself, because the white man is not going to do for you. And he kind of he instilled, for all the negative stuff he put in us, he did put a sense of, hey, Black man, you need to provide that role model for your household.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily see that outside of my little circle, what I call my family, and our community.
Right.
So,
Sadly enough. Yeah. Yeah. It's
there's work to be done. There's work to be done.
definitely.
Well, listen, we're at the top of the hour. I'm gonna let my wife just close it out. We have had an amazing opportunity to tonight journey through your personal struggle. But what I'm most encouraged about is that, just from looking at the comments, this conversation is gonna help some people.
Right.
I hope so. I really do hope so.
Yeah.
I feel strongly that if you are ready, you don't have to get ready. And that's one of the things that I preach about all the time. Just prepare yourself. You don't ever know when is going to be that moment, like in my situation when my son got struck. You never know when it's going to be that turning moment, and you have to be prepared. We have a 24-hour hotline at Willow that if anybody wants to call, they are free to do so. We're there overnight. I'm usually the overnight counselor. So, we're there through the night. We're there early morning. If you're not able to make a call, you can always send text messages. We have a text line as well. You can look us up at willownewyork.gov.org. Let me get back. .org.
I'm gonna make sure to grab all of that information that you're providing, so I can put it in the comment section on the social media outlets we're using, because that's super important.
And Vialma, they can just call 211 if they can't remember what's going on, right?
Yeah, 211 will definitely link them to us, but our number is super safe to remember. I mean, super easy to remember, because it's just 222 SAFE.
Okay.
SAFE.
Okay.
And the text line is 348 SAFE. And we have a variety of services. Just to put a plug in for Willow really quickly, we have the hotline. We have individual counseling. We have people who come out in the community to meet with people who aren't able to come in. Right now, we're doing Zoom and conversation meetings, but there's also support groups available. And we also have court accompaniment. We have advocates who will go to court with you in the event that you need to get an order of protection and you just don't know how to do it. There's a domestic violence court office. You go to them and they will connect you with an advocate, and they'll help you from beginning to end in order to help you get that order of protection in place. We also help with, individuals getting their identities changed if they ever need to change their name and social security number, stuff like that. We help them get anonymous addresses. So where if, because, people are very crafty and they can find out your address. Instead of your address being on the cable bill, they can, reroute that. So it'll go to a PO box. You'll get a PO box and it's going to go directly to Albany. And then in Albany, it gets redirected to your safe home. We do have phones. We have phones available. If you don't have a phone, if you need that extra phone to keep hidden in your car or anything like that, we have, the ability to provide those as well. So definitely call in. And I strongly encourage, that just really quickly, because I'm just trying to drop a couple nuggets. If there's ever, like with me, I started, moving things out of my house, and safeguarding them elsewhere. Like my birth certificate, my mother still holds on to my birth certificate because I just didn't trust anybody. They would, steal it or rip it up or whatever. So my mom has my social security card, my birth certificate, any credit cards or anything like that. Don't keep them in your household, in your purse or anything like that, because they will have easy access to it. So just safeguard that somewhere else. Tell your employer, tell your landlord what's going on. Because if you tell your landlord, if you tell your employer, and your domestic abuse starts to affect your livelihood, so it starts to affect your attendance or your performance or anything like that, there's laws that protects you as a survivor, but you have to have told your employer. And also your landlord is responsible for keeping you safe. So if you're not able to, if they break into your house or something like that, your landlord has to, safeguard that place for you. If you need help with getting security systems, cameras, or anything like that, you can always reach out to Willow, and we don't pay for it, but we can help you find ways to be able to get that for yourself. And I think that.
I didn't realize all those services. I didn't even realize all those services were offered.
That's a lot of just nuggets, resources that people wouldn't know about just by, picking up the telephone book. You wouldn't know that.
Right. Because a lot of people associate Willow with just being a shelter.
Right.
We're a comprehensive agency where we provide, all types of services. We do provide shelter. We do help you get into safe housing again, but we also try to help restore you as an individual as well. There's goals that are developed while you're staying with us, and we try to help you work towards those goals. And then we also have a children's counselor because a lot of the children are affected. Those are the silent victims. So we have a counselor that is there specifically to work with the children, get them connected with services in the community that can help them, process what's going on, help them link to mental health services, just a number of a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff goes into, restoring a victim, helping them transform from a victim to a victor in their situation.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
So what if someone just wants to just call and talk this through? They don't want the services. They don't even know if they're in a domestic violence situation.
Yes. And we get that often. We get people who are just saying I'm not even sure. I don't really think that I'm getting abused because he's not hitting me. But, he says things to me that really hurt my feelings, or he does things to me that really make me question, things. So, and we kind of help them process that, and it help them understand that there's more than one form of abuse. There's financial abuse, there's sexual abuse. A lot of females, they feel like, when they're being sexually assaulted, because that's their partner, that it's not an assault.
Right.
It is. It definitely is. If it's against your will, and if it's hurting you, then yeah, it's an assault, and that's a form of abuse, because sex can be used as a form of abuse as well. So
Absolutely.
so yeah, we get a lot of people who are like, oh, can we talk? And it happens to be on the overnight, and I'm like, sure, because I need to stay awake anyway. So what's up? What's going on?
Right.
Of course. The overnight, I can only imagine. I can only
Oh
imagine.
yeah. We get some doozies. Sometimes, they're quiet nights, but then we get some doozies too,
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the night. Because a lot of abuse does take place at nighttime, when the kids are supposedly asleep and don't hear. They do hear. They do hear. My son tells me how he used to hear, things going on. And the whole time I would go in and check on him, and he'd be asleep. It's like I wasn't asleep, I was pretending.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense. So one of the things I'm just going to throw out there now, Vialma, I would love it if we maybe could revisit this conversation and bring you back in 6 months, and maybe bring, some members of your team. So, we could just talk about, maybe some success stories. Cause it's when you can have power in the present when you have hope for the future. And that's what I hope this particular broadcast doing is giving some people some power in their present, because you can't get to the other side of this. You can't get your power back.
Absolutely. And and that could be a very dangerous thing to do too.
Okay.
Because when an abuser starts to lose power, they start to lose their mind, and they start to, yeah, they amp up the ante. They become more violent. They become more cruel, because they will not be outdone. So, it's not a cookie cutter approach to every situation, because every situation, the dynamics are different in every situation.
Right.
And that's why we strongly encourage that if there is a situation that you're involved in, a situation that you feel like you need help from, that you contact Willow at 222 Safe, so that you can create an individualized safety plan.
Yes.
And what to do in a situation, if you find yourself in a situation that, you're getting abused physically, mentally, verbally, financially.
I almost feel like every woman needs to develop this safe plan, just so they can have it, so that they know, if I'm using this plan, something's wrong. If I need the plan, it's already there.
Right. And that's why I say, it's better to be ready than to have to get ready. Because when you're in that situation, you're in that fight or flight mode, your mind is not, you're not thinking clearly. So you're not going to think of everything. You're not going to remember to bring your medicine. Because I remember leaving one time and having to come back because I forgot to grab my medicine. And I have cardiac conditions, and there's no way, you know what I'm saying, that I could have been without my meds. So guess what? I had to come back and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, and deal with all that nonsense, because I had to come back and get my medicine. But guess what?
Right.
I made sure that the next time I had, a couple days worth of everything in my bag, and I always kept it stashed in my car, or I had stuff everywhere. And lastly, I want to say one of the biggest obstacles that a lot of our families raise is that you had mentioned earlier about pets. They don't want to leave their pets, because a lot of times their pets become part of their family. And sometimes the abuser will use that pet to to threaten them. I was helping a family a couple years ago, and she did everything. She got her clothes, she got her child, she got everything that she needed except for her pet, because she didn't think that I would welcome the pet too. But then they started using the pet like, oh, if you don't come back, I'm going to kill your dog.
Oh, wow.
And so, of course, that's something that was hitting her heart. That's her baby.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, go get your dog. Bring your dog. Like, we gonna get you safe one way or another. But Willow also has a pet shelter. So, and we can't house everybody's animal.
Right.
But we do have, availability. Right now we have a couple cats, we've had dogs, we have a bunny right now. But in the event that we can't house your pet, we can help you make arrangements with Lollipop Farm, because they will hold your animal for up to 30 days, while you're in a shelter, free of charge to you.
I didn't even know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot, there's a lot. Sometimes you don't, like, if you're not in that situation, you really don't know what all entails to get a person to safety. Until you walk in that person's shoes, you just never know the journey that they've had to travel. You have more bad days than good days, but by far the good days outweigh the bad days, because like today, I can honestly say, yes, I had some very, very, very horrific experiences. Things that, I've been held at gunpoint. I've been, while I'm begging for my life, and my son is upstairs showering, and he's telling me, I'm going to shoot you first, and then I'm going to go get your retarded son, because my son has autism. And so he knows that it's a
Trigger.
oh, definitely. And he will call him retarded all the time. So he's like, I'm going to shoot you, then I'm going to shoot your retarded son, and then I'm going to go down the street and I'm going to get your mom and your sisters and your kids and all of that. So, yeah.
He has complete control over you. Yes.
Yes. And so whatever I was arguing about, I had to stop, drop, and roll. Like, yep, you are right. You are definitely right. You're absolutely right. Yes, you are. You're the greatest. Yes. Wow. I lost a lot of property. I lost TVs. I lost my car because I wouldn't go pick him up. He came home. As soon as I came home, he threw a chair right through my window, smashed my whole back window, because I wouldn't go pick him up. I eventually did go pick him up, but I didn't do it fast enough.
Wow.
So he waited till we got home, and then he busted out my window. So now I can't pick up anybody. I can't do anything. Just crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Vialma, this has really been eye-opening for me, because I gotta be honest with you, this is my blind spot. I know it happens, but I would have never thought of some of the challenges that women go through. And I can't thank you enough. I appreciate your time. We totally went past our 40-minute window, but you've been dropping so many jewels. I felt like, hey, we're gonna go as long as we need to in order to get this information out. So again, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank
no
you
problem.
so much.
Anytime.
All right, well, guys, we have been kicking it with a survivor, Miss Vialma Ramos. We've been talking about, taking back your power after domestic abuse, but also some tips that you can use when you're in the situation. And I got this number down, 222-SAFE. All right, 222-SAFE. Use that number if you need, even just to somebody to talk to get your feelings out. Again, we appreciate your time, Vialma.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. Thank you. It was great seeing you guys again.
Yeah, it was great seeing you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, that's another one in the books. We're happy to do this. Me and my wife plan on doing these kind of shows for a while to get people in our community to level up. All right, take care and God bless. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks again,
Night.
Vialma.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. All right. Ending the broadcast.